If you got questions, raise your hand, grab me. With that being said, let's jump into it. What I teach is make circles, get anywhere you want, move around. Warm rider, that stuff's really complicated. It's great. So I have students who do it and use it at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu. Work. For a lot of us, if you're not going to spend 12 hours drilling hand switches, and if you do a lot of gi and no gi, it may not fit your game. But if we teach them basic stuff that's just going to reinforce techniques you already have in your arsenal, cross collar chokes, scissor sweeps, these are going to make everything you do stronger, and they make it easier to control stronger, bigger opponents. Okay? So let's start with a basic closed guard entry to the lapel. We're going to use this to set up a huge variety of attacks that you can do: sweeps, chokes, all this kind of cool stuff. Okay? So let's just make a big circle, move around, make that a circle. So I'm going to have that in my guard. And again, take a seat, move, I don't care where you are. I want you guys to be able to see. So when I'm attacking from my closed guard, I look at distance management as the way I think about attacking. And what I mean is, if I want to control like an attack, like a cross collar choke kind of, I have to make sure that he's in form's length. Right now, my elbow's attached to my body, he's past form's length. So if I try to choke him, I'm gonna have to reach out. It's gonna be easy for Ed to grab my wrist. It's gonna be easier for him to control me, to steer me, and open my guard. So what I can do is two things. I can either bring myself to him or I can bring him to me, okay? So I'm gonna use these in combination. As soon as I wanna attach to him, try to start breaking his posture, I am going to pull forward with my legs to try to get him to commit. If he falls down, great, but if he catches himself on his hands like he's probably going to, that's gonna bring him closer. Then I'm gonna sit up. I'm gonna pummel an arm inside, and I'm gonna attach to him. So notice, I'm still forearm's length. I'm not reaching too far out. Notice I'm not deep enough to choke him, but it's deep enough to control him. I can then swim an arm down and bring him down. Now that he's close to me, I can hug his head and shoulders, and he's now in the distance that I need to be to start setting up attacks. So what I'm gonna do from here is take the hand that was in his collar and go to his other collar as I quickly open my guard. I can do this because I'm controlling his head and posture. I'm going to pull his lapel out if it wasn't already out. Obviously, if we've been rolling, his lapel already might be out of his belt, his belt might be untied. If it wasn't, I'll pull it out. And now I have his lapel flat. I'm going to feed it to the hand that's behind his back and controlling his shoulder. I'm just going to pull it up towards me. Okay? Now that I have this, I know Ed's going to start to pull back because he doesn't want to stay down here, and I have him controlled. I have this control behind his head. I can then feed it to my cross grip, and now I have a cross collar choke grip, but with what we call a Brabo grip. The Brabo is when I grab the lapel, pulled behind his head and neck, and notice it's that forearm's length where I want it to be. From here, Ed can pull up as hard as he wants. He's going to be stuck. I can just engage this to my core, and from here, he now is in a risk area. Chokes, arm locks, sweeps, and attacks. And this is where we want to get to. From here, I'm going to give you a whole series of attacks based on his reactions, okay? But we just want to get to this spot to kind of warm up and get us all in the same position, okay? So again, Ed's just in the closed guard. He's got good posture. He's staying away. Obviously, if his head was low, I don't have to bring him down. But against a tough black belt like Ed, he's going to always have posture. So I pull him forward with my legs and then attach low. This is the key. I don't try to choke him up here because this is going to be a weak grip anytime my elbow's away from my body. Now I try to swim arms in and I pull him down and hug him. This hand can now come out and I'll pull the gi open. I pull it out and I feed it behind the head. I like to kind of fold it and twist it a little bit so it's a nice easy handle to grab. And then from here, I take my time. I'm almost going to loosen my grip so that he pulls back. As he pulls back, this arm shoots inside. It's going to feed right between my thumb and my forefinger. And now I have a nice, strong handle. My elbow is attached to my rib cage. I have Ed's controlled posture, and now his arms, neck, and legs are all in the zone. I can keep my guard closed, which we're going to do now, but I can also open my guard and create angles and pivots, because from this movement, I can flow through my legs, okay? This is where we want to get to, called the Brabo grip, and from here, like I said, I can open a variety of attacks based on his reactions and based on what I like to do, okay? So one more time, I'll kind of do it without breaking every step down. So again, I'm going to pull him forward. I'm going to come inside. I'm going to control the lapel. I'm going to sweep him down. I'm going to pull inside. I'm going to pull the gi out, feed it to the hand, let him start to pull away. As he does, feed the hand through, pull my elbow into my body. Now we have what we call the Brabo position. And from here, we're going to do all our attacks. But I just want to start going here, going back and forth. You're going to do it 3 times. Your partner's going to do it 3 times just to get the feel. Okay? You guys clap? Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
You might have to open it to grab this, but then I would close it back up. Because as soon as you open, you give me an opportunity to run away.
So the way you always think, as long as you have the posture control, you're going to open the guard and pull the lapel out. Okay. So that's why I'm always grabbing, before I grab the lapel, I'm always controlling here first. That way I can start grabbing the lapel and then I get quickly open because I have the posture. It's much harder from the back away or step over if I'm controlling the posture. Okay. I would never just open my legs haphazardly without controlling the posture or the grip, and that'll open up that.
What if you can get it without opening?
Yeah, you don't have to by any means. And especially like when we're starting, everyone's got nice foot skis on because you have to roll on it. It's hard to pull the lapel. You know, like if we just start hand fighting for 30 seconds and maybe I pull by that point, his gi might already be out. Sure. And one of the things, like, I have a few students who play lapels, and when they start a match, the second they shake hands, they come out, they just pull the lapel out. So, like, you know, so that when they get to the ground, the lapel's already free, so there's none of this battle that's there. Because, hey, if that's the game you want to play, you don't have to wait to be in the guard to start getting the lapel grips. You can start doing it from the second you make contact with the trainer.
I didn't even think of that. That's
yeah. All right. Guys and girls. So we got our basic idea. This is what we call a Brabo position. And one of the questions we were just talking about, situations is, obviously, sometimes it's hard to get the gi out or the lapel out, especially, you know, your partner's got a nice tight gi on, the fit is tight, the belt's tight. When we're not rolling, the gi stays belt tight, it's harder to get the lapel out. Realize in a competition or even a live round, me and I were fighting, by the time we get to close guard, a lot of times the gi might already be open and loose. If it's not, and this is something you want to play, sometimes, especially in a competitive mindset, I have students who play a lot of lapels in the gi. They will start this process standing. So if me and Ed come out and we shake hands, he's got his hand, he's like his lapel down, and I want to play lapels, and I'm going to come out and like we're going to play judo. I might just come here and do this, and then pull close guard. So by the time we get to the floor, this lapel's already out, and I don't have to fight for it when we get to the guard. Because obviously in the guard, it can be sometimes harder to pull it out because we're tight. So that way, when I pull guard, I'm already feeding the lapel. So that's what strategy like, okay, if I'm going to use lapels, whether it's for this or doing a reverse stella worm or something crazy, this way we have the lapel already when we go to the floor. Obviously, you don't have to do that. I might just pull close guard, pull it out. He might take me down, I pull it out, whatever. So now that we have the lapel out, okay, let's talk about what we can do. So our first attack here is going to be the simplest attack in all of closed guard jiu-jitsu, the cross collar choke. We're not doing a regular cross collar. We're doing the Brabo cross collar. The Brabo cross collar is exponentially stronger than a regular cross collar. Everything you're doing is an elevated, stronger version of it. The grip of the lapel that we're getting, the Brabo grip, is incredibly strong because not only are you able to fully close your hand around the lapel, as opposed to just closing your hand on his lapel inside his collar, you're able to also anchor behind his head and neck. In a normal cross collar grip, if I'm grabbing Ed here and he postures, my hand is not behind him. So he can use his power, his back, his neck to fight against it. When I have this grip pulled out and have this hand already fed, when he postures up, I'm holding behind his head and neck. This is a much, much stronger grip, okay? Not to mention this hand, again, when I can close on the lapel, it's like holding a rope as opposed to closing my hand on the inside of his gi. So when we get here, the first thing I'm always going to do is look for the cross collar choke. What we're not doing is trying to do a regular cross collar choke. Could I put my hand under and grab his lapel and choke him? Sure, but that's, again, kind of a weak grip. It's not a strong grip. So we're going to use the lapel we're choking with to choke him on both sides. So I get this grip, and what I'm going to do is open my guard. The lapel allows me much more freedom in my hips because, again, he cannot posture away. He's stuck at this forearm distance. So I'm going to open my guard. I'm going to put my opposite foot on the hip. So if my right hand is on his lapel, my left foot will go to his hip. Just like if I was sitting up an arm bar. He may actually feel threatened by an arm bar, and I could go for one if he's giving me his arm. I'm going to pivot my body this way. Almost always, he's going to pull his arm away because he doesn't want to get arm bar. From here, I reach up. And notice I don't grab by the shoulder. I'm grabbing here where the material is loose. Okay? It doesn't have to be a specific spot. It can be here, just where the material is loose. With the material being loose, all I have to do is pull my arm over, attach my elbow to my body, and now do a crunch. And he's already just choked by the control because I have such deep level of control of his head and neck. Okay? A traditional choke, again here, if he pulls back, this grip will break a lot. If I grab here, tuck in, he tries to pull back, there's no way he's going to be able to get through both of my arms at that angle. Okay? So this is basically a cross collar choke on steroids. Bigger grips, stronger grips, deeper control of posture, and more ability to move your hips at the angle we want to an attack. This choke itself will choke a lot of people, but what we're going to show you is when he starts to feel the threat of this choke, and he starts having to push my arms, he has to start pulling away, it's going to open up another realm of attacks that aren't so simple, but this is where everything's going to base off of. Okay? So let's talk about this choke again. So everything's the same. I pull him down, break it down, open the lapel up, feed it across the back, and I get to my Brabo grip. Once I get my Brabo grip, I relax. Be calm, just keep your elbow attached. If he goes to fight and pull back and fight hard, I'm hanging out. I put my foot on the hip on the opposite side that I have my hand on his collar. I'm gonna pivot just like I'm doing an arm bar. My right leg's gonna come up the body and I'm gonna be here. And again, there is a threat of an arm bar and a triangle. He's worried about all that stuff. All I'm gonna do is reach my free hand up and grab any loose material you want. And again, it could be all the way back here if I want to. It can be closer to you, wherever you feel comfortable. You got that handle, you're gonna tuck your elbow over and you're gonna attach. You're going to do a crunch as I push down, leading to an incredibly powerful choke. The nice thing about this choke is, when I have this handle, if he tries to drop his chin, it will not stop the choke. If he puts his hands or elbows on my elbows and tries to push, this will not stop the choke. If he swings his arm inside, this will not stop the choke. Because I have so much control of his head and posture that he's not gonna have ability to, with one arm or even with both arms, to pull my hands off, okay? I have a few students in my black belt. It's Jack Paul. He has hit this choke in competitions from white belt to brown belt and IBJJF. He hasn't fought in gi and black belt yet. I guarantee you will hit it at black belt. And he's hit it from close guard, open guard, half guard. He hits this choke all over the place. And it's just a simple cross collar. People think they're safe. And he's put multiple people to sleep with this in competition. Okay? It's an incredibly powerful tool. So I want you to get with your partner and let's put the cross collar Brabo on with our grip. And then from here, a crumple, really cool attacks will flow when they have to defend and feel the power of this choke. Okay? 3, 2, 1. So what I want you to think about doing is get this grip nice and tight. So that first cross grip, just have a nice, comfortable grip. Okay? Now grab anywhere loose. Come over the top like this, and maybe like grab here. Grab like the lapel.
It's like really
nice
like
hand.
quick and it's
Your goal is to touch your elbows to your rib cage, and now do a crunch. Try to touch your shoulder, the ear, or nose. Right there. Because you're going to any choke, whether it's this version of cross collar choke or regular cross collar choke, just use your core. So your arms are going to attach because it's your core doing the pulling, not your arms. Because if you're going with something strong, arms against back and neck, arms are going to lose. If it's your core against back and neck, the core is going to win. Especially with the positional advantage of the grip.
Thank you.
Yep. Let me do this.
no, this one has
So you still have the cross
yeah,
collar.
there you go.
So again, I want you to relax your grip. So just grab this and just tuck it into your forearm, like your elbows to the body. Good. Now you're gonna open the guard and put this foot on the hip. Nope. This foot. And you're gonna pivot to your right. Nope. To your right. So just pivot.
Your head to the right.
Yep. To your head to the right. Just like if you were going for an arm bar. And now you're gonna grab there. You're gonna touch this elbow to your body and just do a crunch. Just do a crunch. So think about this. These,
Shoulders up.
your elbows attached. Now you're just gonna do a crunch. Think about taking your shoulder to her nose.
It doesn't feel very tight.
Pull it down. There.
There you go.
And now do a crunch. But watch me do it one time, okay? I want you to see how easy I'm going to move my body. So let me just kind of jump ahead. I'll get the lapel out. I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna have this nice lapel. Okay? So I have my elbow down, nice and calm. I'm gonna put my foot on the hip and I'm gonna create an angle. And again, doesn't have to be a big angle, just put a little bit. And again, the more I'm open, the more it is easy for me to move. If you have the flexibility to move with being closed, fine, but we don't need to do that. Once create this space, grab anywhere on the material that you feel comfortable. And your goal from here is to get
locks
your
up
wrist
tight.
attached. So see how I'm not even pulling yet, it's gonna be tight. So I just wanna touch my wrist to her neck. So now my elbows are loosely touching my rib cage, my core. There's not a lot of pressure, there's not a lot of tension, but she's already feeling the choke. And then notice, I'm not gonna pull her down because especially if I was going with someone stronger, me pulling with my arms against her back, she's gonna win. So instead, I'm gonna bring myself in. So it's my core doing the work, so it's my core against her neck, I'll win. It's my arms against her back or neck, she's gonna generally win, even as a smaller person, let alone a bigger person. So you're gonna attach here, and like you're pulling yourself up on a bar. You're gonna pull yourself up, you don't just pull here, you're gonna engage your back, your chest, your core, and that'll put that choke in, okay? Grab it nice and high. Man, think about going right above the ear. Grabbing right there. Perfect. Elbow into the body. Crunch. And I don't have to have my guard closed at all there.
That doesn't matter.
Right? What's the...
Like, so if you come to my guard, right? Once I get the Brabo, and this is what we're going to play with a lot more than this. So we're starting real simple. A cross collar with this grip instead of doing this. So I'm going to open my guard. Try to move
Not gonna get my back here.
Yeah, well, and this is the idea. If I keep you at this distance, if you're stuck at this forearm length distance and I have this control behind you, where are you going to go? If you try to go up, I'm holding you and you're pulling me. If you go backwards, I'm just going to follow you. If you go left or right, those are the angles I want. You're going to have to deal with this grip, right? You're going to have to break it. You're going to have to swim with your head under it. You're going to have to fight it. The problem is it's a very, very hard grip to break because it's not in front of you, it's behind you. So like for you to break, you almost have to reach behind you, which is going to allow me to do things like open up angles, pull you in, go for triangles, go for all different kinds of chokes, which we'll talk about. But I, myself, like for instance, if you're doing a really good job stopping me from choking, keeping your elbows in going far, that's why I'm going to sit up and do things like this. So now I can start resting on your face, pushing you out, just controlling you. As long as I keep this, even if I'm completely open, if you try to move, look how your posture is controlled. Look how your distance is controlled. I can just kind of control you with this handle. And until you address this, you're in a no man's land. And as you address it, that's where my opportunities to attack and sweep. So it doesn't have to be a closed guard, especially like if you're shoulder legged, you're not as comfortable keeping your guard closed. We really only have to keep it closed until we get that grip. And that's why when we're setting up the choke, I can put my foot on the hip, I can pivot. It's not like I have to keep my legs locked or I can't move. That's actually harder for most people. If I can open and I have the freedom to push, to pull, to sit, you're going to be so much stronger.
Awesome.
Okay?
I'm going to do this for all the time. If I can.
Yeah, it's like that.
Now, I was just telling them, the key is
Long loop, short loop, right? You come through, it's like.
especially with this position, if I can just get the grip that's behind your head, controlled with their elbow technique, you're in very much a, like, if you're looking at a number scale, it's a 90%. 90% of the time you're going to lose because you're giving up control. You're lose most of the time. This is like an open guard equivalent. So obviously we're going to talk about in a second. If he defends the choke, if he tries to back away, what happens if he tries to circle his head under? The things that a person's probably going to do, that's where our kind of sneakier attacks are. This is a super just like cross collar choke. You've all seen a version of this. What we're going to go into next is things that are a little bit more outside the box that you can't do from just like a normal cross collar.
Is there something they can do if they feel you going for the lapel? Like
Of course, that's when you have to. You need to defend before the lapel is set. So the key for you in the top is just the most basic, standard guard passing ideas. Keep your posture, keep your hands on the inside, and keep your head on the center. If you do that, the same way you try to shut down any guard is how you shut down this. If you let me break your posture, and if you let my hands get inside, now whether I'm doing this, setting up a lasso guard, setting up all the other attacks are going to happen. And now what's nice is the guard players, when I'm setting up an attack, you don't necessarily know I'm doing this. So when I break your posture, I might be setting up a rubber guard, I might be setting up an overhook, I might be setting up an underhook. So you have to not only defend the right way, but once I break you down, this isn't my only option, it's one of many. So as the guard player, I have the easier path of knowing if I control your posture, I'm safe. You have to know, okay, my posture is controlled. I got to defend 6 different guards, so it's much harder for you to get behind. That's why the structure is key from the start. Don't get behind so that you don't have to worry about specific defenses. Okay? Everyone who does any jiu-jitsu, you're going to learn a cross collar from your guard in your first few classes through simulants, whatever. So again, not that your opponent knows it, you can't hit it. Like I said, I have students and teammates who have been hitting this choke at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu for many, many, many years. But what's going to happen is Ed's going to know a cross collar choke is coming. Just like if I put a deep grip in his collar like a regular choke and I start reaching my hand, cross collar is coming. Just because it's a strong grip doesn't mean he doesn't know how to defend. He's going to use his arms to block it, to check this arm, to not give me the angle for the choke. This is where the power of the Brabo really comes in. Because in a more normal kind of closed guard situation with a normal cross collar grip, I can threaten an armbar, but that can be tough, especially against a good guy who knows how to keep his hips square and to follow me, but I'm going to be more limited. With the Brabo, I can open my guard and have a lot more recourse to move my hips because the choke being behind his head is holding him in a position where he can't just freely back up or break it easily. So this angle that I can create and the space I can create will open up some cool attacks. So the first one we're going to show you is what we call the Brabo choke. So we have what we call the Brabo grip because of the choke I'm about to show you. The Brabo choke is an exact counter to the main defense to a cross collar choke, which is not letting my second arm get to your lapel. If my second hand can't grab his shoulder or lapel, there's no way I'm going to do a cross collar choke to him. So instead, we're going to attack his arm, but not for an arm lock, for a choke. And this is the Brabo choke. One of my coaches, Megaton, one of the legends of competitive jiu-jitsu, is a huge advocate of the Brabo choke. He has been hitting it in black belt competition for the last 25 years. He has hit this choke countless times in the black belt divisions at the highest tournaments in the world, Worlds, Pans, Nogi, Masters Worlds, etc. So this is a choke that from our team and our lineage has been going on as long as we've had a jiu-jitsu team. So if I have Ed here, everything's going to start the same. I'm going to break him down. I'm going to pull his lapel out. I'm going to feed it across. Nice and easy. I'm gonna feed to the secondary hand. So again, as soon as I do this, Ed starts to posture back and fight. He knows this hand is going for the choke. So I'm trying to fight here, but look, Ed's strong, he's tough. He knows there's a big time threat of this choke. And if he just keeps this hand on my bicep and stays strong, I am not going to cross collar choke. Impossible. So what I'm going to do is start creating some distance and some space. One, so you're no longer as worried about the cross collar choke, and so that I can get a better angle. So what I like to do from here is I'll start to sit up here, okay? As I sit up, I'm still gonna reach for this, but he's gonna be blocking. He's not gonna let me do it. Okay, but notice I still have great control. If he tries to go anywhere, he's stuck. He's stuck in this level. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab his wrist. This does not feel threatening right now. There's no choke here. I'm not up by his collar. I'm down by his wrist. He thinks I'm trying to break the grip on my arm. I am not. His arm's gonna get pulled across the body. I'm gonna pull Ed's hip down. I'm gonna turn my body in. I'm gonna choke him with his arm. So just like we're doing a head and arm choke or a triangle choke, we're using his arm to choke. We're using the grip on the high side we already have as the second angle. So we're doing what we call the Brabo choke, which is essentially a head and arm choke with the gi on. It's really, really powerful because as I make his elbow fall into my hip and push my body into his tricep, my entire body is pushing his arm into his neck as the secondary hand is pulling in and closing off the space for the choke. Okay, so let's look at just the choke itself out of the whole setup, just so you guys can see mechanically what's going on. So we're here, and again, we don't have to be in a seated position. I could still be on my back and get this. I'll show you another angle you can do, but this is a very common one. Where I sit up, I'm going to grab his sleeve, and then I'm going to pull across. I'm going to pull him down to my hip. So notice, I'm not pulling him across. I want him to kind of fall to my hip. From that, if I want to, I can switch my hand or keep my grip, whatever is more comfortable, here or here. And then I'm going to let just fall into it. So I'm going to slide into Ed's elbow and tricep, pushing his elbow out towards where his hand is. Notice my chest is blocking his tricep, and then this hand is simply going to hold. And I'm going to put pressure on just by pushing my chest in, like this. This arm's pulling, this arm's pushing, my chest is engaging. The nice thing about this choke is sometimes, you know, he's going to be tough, he's going to be trying to shift that arm, trying to survive, just staying out, hang out. He's not going anywhere. His posture is controlled, he's stuck, his elbow's to the floor. You can take all the time in the world. And what you see a lot at the high levels against really tough opponents is when I get to this spot. So I pull Ed's arm across, I pull him down, he starts to fight up, fight up, fight up. Then just bring that arm back over and go back to the cross collar choke, even if I need to, because his head and arm are stuck. And again, I can always reinforce that initial grip that we have. So now I'm chaining these two chokes together based on how he reacts. And I have an incredible, strong grip that's gonna allow me to attack both of them at the same time, okay? Now let's look at it in the whole context one more time. So just to save a little time, we pull him down, we'll fast forward, right till here. So we start going for the choke. Ed's defending, we're fighting, I'm trying to grab the arm. So what I like to do is take the foot that was on the hip, start to push him away a little bit and kind of sit up. I like to keep my foot on the hip because I'm flexible. You're not so flexible, just put your foot on the ground, comfortable. Now from here, I'll do things like trying to come under his arm, make him fight that position. Again, all he's thinking about is cross collar. I don't want to get cross collar choke, I don't want to get cross collar choke. Then I go here. No more cross collar choke, he's not worried about it. From this position, all I'm going to do is pull this arm across. As I do, I feed his elbow to my hip. From here, I'm going to slide his elbow towards his hand. I like to quickly turn my hand over, and I like to push it out as I fall into it. Once I fall, this hand grabs, pull the choke. If for some reason he's this tough guy and he's pulling up, fighting, I simply grip that collar that we had and drive the choke in with the arm. Okay? That way I can get the beautiful Brabo choke. If it's not there, I can't find the perfect angle he's fighting, just grab the choke and do the cross collar we've been doing the whole time.
Do you have to go over, or can
you can go under?
Does it still work under?
Yep. Great question. So if I'm here and sits up and I come under, no problem. Hook him the same way, same position, same grip. So you can go over or under when you're bringing the arm over. Two, if it's a situation where you can't grab his wrist, you can always even grab his tricep, over or under as well. So if you have a really strong guy, you reach for the tricep to help pull the arm. As long as you're getting his arm across here, 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 you can still grip any of those ways. Generally speaking, when I grab the wrists, it's the easiest thing to grip because it's close and it's very innocuous. When I reach real deep for Fred's tricep, he knows something more sinister is happening. When you just kind of grab his sleeve, a lot of times when you're going for a cross collar and now you're grabbing his sleeve, he's like, oh, he's gonna try to arm drag me or he's gonna try to go for an arm bar. Until that arm's across, he may not know he's in as much danger, okay? So this is what we call our Brabo. Let's give it a try. 3, 2. Okay, perfect. Now we're gonna bring the arm across, right? You can bring it over or under. Open your guard, kind of sit up, get your chest next to the tricep. Now from here, fall to your side, bring the arm with you. This arm's gonna let go of the arm. It's gonna hug the head. Now you're gonna think about arching your hips into the arm. Arch your hips in. So don't pull away, go like this. Drive the knot of your belt into the arm.
He's gonna sit up.
Did that work?
But I want you to just make the position smaller. What I mean is you're trying to like stretch yourself out a ton. So watch me do it one time. We'll just start from here. So we have the lapel. We got this part. Boom, boom, boom. I got a nice easy grip. I got the arm. Okay? So I'm seated. I'm just putting my chest on the place. And now I'm going to simply fall. I can reclose my guard or keep my guard open, whatever feels the most comfortable. I'm simply going to grab. Just a gentle, easy pressure. See how small the position is? I'm not moving much. I'm just holding. And now if he tries to pull, drive into me, right, it makes the position worse. Because with the chest here, anywhere he moves, just putting pressure, driving in, pulling out, and staying nice and tight on that. Okay? So just think about keeping your chest right there, and driving your hips in. It'll make the position really strong, especially if you're a taller guy. Use that length of hip. You almost like hug over him, where that arm is going to be stuck in between your body, and that's going to make the position really strong.
It felt like my arm position was much more buried in the neck.
Yes, because I want to.
So when you were doing it, it was more buried on my chin.
And that's why I want to put it down. I'm not pushing it over. I'm pushing it down.
Right.
And I'm bringing it with him. Where it's going to be.
There.
Now the nice thing is it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right, it doesn't have to be, but the level that it like is amplified.
It'll close up so much faster, so much less work.
So you didn't have to spin, and it was already on.
Yeah, it's just, and the goal should be, and again, it takes time to develop it. Once I get the arm basically to the floor, the choke's already set. Like he's already getting slowly choked, where if we just sat there for 30 seconds, he'll probably tap just because it's in, right? I have to squeeze. But again, that takes time. That's why I really want you to think about putting his elbow to your hip and keeping your chest forward. Because that, if it goes to the hip as opposed to the side, once it slides down, that slide down is what's going to make that space come in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Loose grip, no pressure. We're here. Sit up. Now once we're here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push her elbow to the hip and I'm going to scoot in.
Does my arm have to be over your arm?
No, it can be under your arm. I like it over, but it can be under just as well. So now notice, I'm going to push her elbow down and I'm going to put my chest in. Now this is one of those counterintuitive moves. It's actually harder to do on a skinnier, smaller person because there's way more space. Right? If you're a really big guy, the arm would already be hitting your neck. If we get someone smaller, we're just going to push it in, okay? And now, I'm just going to fall. So see how her arm is attached to her neck? Nice, easy. It's going to be here. I'm going to pull. I'm going to put and now, everything's tight in. I'm not putting any force into it. She's already thinking about tapping. From here, put pressure. That's going to finish this like nice and easy. I'm just pushing it. The idea being pushing her arm into your neck and pushing this. Now again, for smaller persons, especially as someone who's newer, if you want to, you can even do this.
Oh, okay.
Then I'll make it a little easier to feel because when she has a big like immediate. Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, you're gonna feel how it connects her arm to her neck.
But I like
doing it to you. It's gonna be much easier. As soon as your arm comes over the shoulder, it's gonna hit the neck. But that's the nice thing about this position is I can literally just go, okay, I don't like this.
So you just, okay. But I like that you just gave me a key just in case.
Yes.
Everyone's different size.
100%. And that's why in training, one of the things is like, generally speaking, you always want to kind of pair up most of the time with somebody roughly your size. But once in a while, I need to go with someone tall, someone long, someone short, someone stocky. Because these movements are gonna work. Like you'll do this style, like if you do this, and then like next week you roll with somebody who's built like this, you're gonna barely get their arm over. You're like, ugh. You're like, I didn't even do the choke yet. It's like, well, on his arm, it chokes him right away. And you go to like, I have a couple of students who are like teenagers, 15 years old, they're rubbery, and they have tiny necks and tiny arms. It's like you gotta go like this to choke them with the same technique, and it feels like you're trying to break their head because their neck is this big. As long as you know the angle you're gonna go at, you're gonna be fine. And obviously, one of the nice things about Jiu-Jitsu in general, but this is, there's gonna be certain techniques that work on certain people better than other techniques. This technique, the higher the belt, or I said, the higher the weight level, the easier this technique works. And you do it on the smallest weight classes for sure. But also, man, if you can't get that angle, if you're like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna use this as a sweep, come on top, and then choke. Because if I have to control that posture of that arm, I can always kick out the base or attack the base. Okay?
Perfect, thank you.
So let's say I get the arm across. The real goal is, again, if I do this well, so if I'm here, this is all gonna be how you like it. So I always like to reach as far to the shoulder as I can. And the idea is if it's the knee, I can connect here to the pressure. Okay? Especially like you're a little bit skinnier guy, it's not gonna hit as easy. So what this allows me to do is put pressure here. And that way, if I'm not getting the choke, I'm like, man, I just can't get this guy's stuff. Then I'm immediately. Where some guys like to pull the head this way. What this allows them to do is basically pull the head into the choke this way and control this pressure. I don't like that as much because when I'm pulling in my partner's head, and again, if you slip out now, it's harder to get into this space. So I always like to get as deep across this as I can because this helps close off the space. And I can put my pressure in. If it's not there, then I'm just going to slide into my choke. So I have that 2-for-1 where I don't have to switch my hands. So I'm not hitting that perfect angle. I'm still in a position where I always have control. But again, if you have shorter arms, you may not be able to reach there, so you're just going to grab the shoulder. If your partner has super wide shoulders, you might not reach there. Generally speaking, that's going to mean the choke should hit faster because, again, the bigger the guy, the less you have to pull the arm across, the faster it's going to hit the neck. Similar to like a triangle choke. It's hard to get a big guy in a triangle, but if they do, they almost always tap because their arms aren't in a way. With real skinny guys, you gotta have it wrapped around their head, and sometimes they're still getting space and energy, but it's easy to lock the triangle around them so you can just it's the same thing the way. I want to show you guys a variety of techniques from here. Not saying that like we're gonna give you a super long on every one, because again, we want to show you more than 2 or 3 moves. I want to show you kind of the base game. So this kind of 1-2 punch of chokes. The cross collar and the Brabo are kind of the building blocks of this position. The threat of these 2 attacks is what's going to open up everything else. Now the nice thing is, most of the other attacks we can go for from here are just going to flow from here based on reactions. Now there's not 1 or 2, there's almost endless ways you can attack from this group pattern, just like from your open guard. So I'm not going to show you all of these because again, we could show 50, 60 moves. We don't have time for that, nor do you have to know that many. So for some of you who are more experienced, there's a lot of purple and brown and black belts in here, think about other techniques you do from like a collar sleeve guard or from a cross collar grip. Scissor sweeps, arm bars, triangle chokes. You can do all these from here because you're just doing the same thing as a normal cross collar grip, but with more control and more ability to move your hips. So we're going to show you a couple that can build from here, and then I'm going to show you one that's kind of sneaking outside the norm. Okay? So the one I use the most beyond the 2 chokes is going to be my scissor sweep. Scissor sweep is one of my favorite techniques in Jiu-Jitsu from any type of open guard, double sleeve, collar sleeve, cross sleeve, Brabo grip. And I think it's one of the most underutilized sweeps in all of Jiu-Jitsu. It's a sweep most people learn as a white belt. You have good success with maybe as a white belt, and people are like, oh, when you get to the high levels, it doesn't work anymore. I hit this sweep all the time. I hit it gi, I hit it no gi, I hit it in competition, I hit it in training. It is the sweep I hit the most in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it works off of all my other attacks. And the more I'm threatening chokes and arm locks and all the good stuff we're doing, the easier this sweep's gonna happen. I also love this sweep because one, it's a very efficient, very easy to find sweep. When you have it with this Brabo grip, when I sweep and come to the mount, I can now do Brabo chokes from the mount. So not only do I sweep him into a position where I can just do the same chokes we did, but with gravity on our side. So now we can take this and flip it on his head. So those 2 chokes were great when you're on the bottom. Imagine with body weight and pressure on top of it. Okay? So let's talk about how we can use this scissor sweep from here. So again, everything's gonna be the same. I'm gonna pull it down, pull the lapel out, boom, boom, pull them through. Again, everything's coming off this initial grip pattern. So again, maybe I go to open the guard. He goes for the choke, he starts to defend. I start to back away and create some space, and he's just doing a good job not letting me good space. He's really controlling me. He may even grab my wrist, he might grab my sleeve, he might grab my hand, to where now I can't choke him. No way I'm getting a Brabo, no way I'm getting a cross collar. So what I do, as I control his sleeve with me, I'm gonna fall to my hip, okay? Now from here, notice, I'm gonna basically attach my shin and my forearm. So I have a nice 2-on-1 here. This foot is gonna fall to the floor. Now I have 2 versions of the sweep. You can do either one you like. Version number 1 is the timing version. So I'm just gonna be here moving. As soon as I feel Ed move at all, I'm gonna sweep. If I'm not as good at it, I'm not as comfortable at it, I mean the same thing, I'm just gonna create space and I'm gonna put my foot on his knee. I'm gonna sweep him. Either version, I'm coming into the mount. Notice, when I land in the mount, I have the Brabo grip. So what I do is I pull him up like I'm riding a bull. It is very hard for Ed to bridge out of a mount and have a collar grip like this on him. He might try to attach my arm, he might try to bridge me. If he tries to bridge me, very weak. I put my head down, I grab my hand, and I go forward right into the choke. If he starts reaching to break my grip or reach up, I can pull the arm across and do the same choke we did with the Brabo grip. So not only do we get the sweep, we get the mount, and we have the same 2 choke options we did from the bottom. So we just flip this position. And one thing this will show you is, while we're talking about the Brabo from the guard, I use the Brabo passing the guard almost as much as I use it playing the guard. So if I'm playing on top, I'm doing something like knee cut passing, and Ed locks me in a quarter guard. It's being stubborn. I feed the lapel out. I do the same thing. I go for the same choke from the top, and I can use it to pass the guard. I can use it out. I can use it to choke. So this is while we're learning it from the bottom perspective. We can use this from the top. We can use this from a huge variety of positions in Jiu-Jitsu, both to get the grip initially or transition to sweeps and attacks, and then use it once we get on top. Okay? So let's put the scissor sweep into the choke. So let's look at it again. Again, everything's the same. We're just getting to the same spot. We're right here. Again, feeding the lapel across. I get to my nice tight grip. I keep my elbow across. And again, against somebody like Ed, I'm expecting this kind of pressure. He doesn't want this arm anywhere near him. Even when I sit up, he doesn't want it anywhere near him. I might sit up for a while, try to get this. He's doing a good job. He's shutting me down. So I'm gonna kind of coalesce and be like, okay, I'm gonna sit back down. He feels better. He's calm. I grab. Now, if he has a really straight wrist grip like he does, like he should have, notice, I just use this against him. I don't even have to re-grip. I can just be here. I feel him move. That's doing the same thing as if I grip him because his wrist is connected. When I land, key, I'm pulling in, pulling up and keeping my hips forward. Let him bridge, let him shock, let him move, get him tired. Ride the bull. Here, when you're ready, either this hand gets pulled across and you drop your chest, or if he keeps the hand out, my head comes down, my hand comes into his collar, and my core comes forward. Either one, I'm getting a choke. Either way, I'm in dominant position. Obviously, sometimes you get some big, strong people you're gonna train with, right? You get here, Ed bridges me, he rolls me. Oh, look where we're at. We're still into the choke from the bottom. We go back to the guard, we haven't lost it, I'm still choking him. So I'm just chaining this attack until he breaks that Brabo grip. He's never away from the threat of the choke, away from the threat of the sweep, and all these options can just flow from attack to attack to attack. So this is where the power is going to come in. So without a partner, so you guys can see how my hips are moving, not that it's that complicated of a movement, but again, I have the collar here. I'm gonna try to keep these two in alignment, so I have a very strong frame between us, and then this leg's gonna be floating to the outside. What I'm trying to do is whether I'm grabbing his wrist or he's grabbing my wrist, that hand is controlled. And what I wanna do is wait for movement. So again, I can either force movement by kicking his knee or wait for movement. I like to wait for movement because I feel my timing is good, because I do this a lot, and it's harder for him to defend because he goes to move. All I'm doing is using my shin as a feeler. As soon as I feel any push or pull into my shin, any weight shift on my shin, my hips are just gonna sit. And notice when I do it, this leg kicks flat to the floor, this leg kicks over, and my hips come on top. If I don't feel as comfortable, I'm newer, I don't have as much time here, and I want to create the action, all I do is I will scoop my body up slightly, I will put this foot on his knee, and then I'm going to extend my leg. At the same time my leg extends, I kick, and I roll through the same way. Either case, it's the same sweep, we're ending up in the same spot. It's not worse to kick on the knee, better to wait for the timing, it's more your personal preference. Obviously the higher belts should be able to do either version. My white belts, feel free just to push on the knee so you don't have to have perfect timing or near perfect timing to make a technique work. Because again, we're getting to the same spot, for the same position, for the same choke. Okay? So let's put the scissor sweep on so we can then choke them from the mouth. 3, 2, 1. It's just nice and relaxed. Again, you're going to control the wrist, whether he's controlling your wrist or not. So the same side wrist. So you want to attack to this side. A lot of times he's going to be grabbing your wrist and not making you choke him, right? So then you get here, kick the leg out, sweep right over the top. Pulling and then kip into it right away. Ride the bull now. He's rigging and bunching and you're just hanging out, pulling in and attacking. Perfect. So sit up just like you're going for the choke. So sit up, try to go for the choke. So a lot of times he's going to be grabbing your wrist, right? He probably doesn't want you to grab it.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, so then you just grab his wrist back, fall, kick his leg out, roll him right on top. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And obviously if he doesn't grab your wrist, go for the choke.
Okay.
Because again, this is what we're talking about. When you're behind, as the top person, you're in this no man's land. Defend the choke, you're open the sweeps. Defend the sweep, you're open the chokes.
Okay.
You defend the arm, you defend, so the things are just going to keep flowing and attack.
Dance.
Yep.
I like that.
Overwhelm them with dilemmas.
The chain of options.
Right.
So we land here, right? So I'm holding them when I'm ready to choke. The key to choking is I don't want to do this. This is what a lot of people do, and there's not a lot of power. So instead, I'm going to bring my core forward. Back too far. Yeah. I'm almost like pulling it towards. So see how far my core isn't over neck here? And I just put pressure in that way. So it's my hips, again, choking. Just like when it's from the guard, I was doing a crunch. What I don't want to do is pull. If I pull, it's weak. Could I choke somebody? Sure, especially somebody not very good or not experienced. But what I'm really trying to do is hang my entire body off Aaron's neck. And this would be the same on a regular cross collar choke. So if I was doing a regular cross collar from the mount, I grab here, and if I do this, I might choke him, maybe not. I'm gonna do this. My hips come forward, and all my body is hanging. So I'm putting 180 pounds directly through his neck, and that way it's pinning his collarbones to the floor, so it's gonna essentially make it harder for him to roll. And even if he rolls me, my core is so engaged, I'm choking him here. If I'm choking him here, this is weak. I can't really engage in my core. It just works. So your core is driving through the arm, you're pulling your knee in place, and that's it.
That's like the pivot point of your body.
Exactly. Exactly right.
He doesn't stay, he doesn't keep his knees close to you.
What do you mean? Like, so let's get here. So I'm here. Right, I get here. So I get here.
Oh yeah, he was going like that.
Oh, just backing up?
Yeah, he's backing up. Let's go for the choke.
Because again, if you're going to be this back, now there is absolutely nothing stopping you here. Right? And if most likely to stop this, you're going to posture up, right? Get away? Yep. I'm just going to play between these because this is the goal. If we roll back over, even if like I'm here and I'm kind of lazy, and you back up fast and hard and go away, we're still here. Right in here. Yeah. Until you break this, you're in my world. And again, I'm gonna be kicking your knee out. I grab it here. Then maybe you bring this arm in, and I pull your arm across. And then right here, side up. So it's all flowing off this. And until you deal with this, you're in trouble. And obviously, you're a strong guy. Breaking this grip, if you try to break my grip here, it's gonna be a hard grip to break. Because it's behind you. And I'm going to be messing with your base if you're doing it. So what you're going to probably try to do, and we're going to talk about this next, one is if you circle your head over. Yes. So this is what guys are going to try to do to you. Because, and again, if I'm tight, it's hard. Like if I'm obviously, if I get here and I keep my elbow engaged, this is tough. But can you do it? Maybe you push my elbow, and maybe you come out here. So this is what we're going to talk about next. That's what you need to essentially do, so that you now have the freedom to move your head and shoulders. Now you have the space to actually attack.
I gotta remember for you, it's not my body. I need to use my
I'm never letting you stay square.
Yeah.
I'm pulling you, I'm tilting you, I'm stretching the body, I'm putting pressure in, I'm shooting, underarm coming over, I'm attacking on all sides, up the body, down the body, both sides. So much of it is going to just be based on head. If you can get your head free, that's going to be the problem. Again, it's not easy, but that's your problem. That's what we're going to talk about. Literally, we're going to talk about next is we need a path on how to stop and say, I'm looser, I'm later, that's good. And again, the nice thing is that does happen. I always just reclose my guard. I'm pretty safe spot as a guard player. But I want to give you guys these tacks to build on it. And then just as a defensive guy, that's your push. Obviously, goal, I should say that goal number one is not good posture, good hand fighting, never let the guy get there. But if he does, we got to get that head free. If not, we're in a really, really bad position. Anywhere you go. So let's talk about one more situation. And I just had this question. So let's talk about it. So the question is really, how do you get out of, how do you defend this position? How do you make it less effective? Now, so obviously, the old school jiu-jitsu, joke, how do you get out of a triangle choke? Don't get triangle choke. That doesn't help most of us when we're in the triangle choke. But that's the truth. If you're going with someone who's good, and they get this deep ahead, you let them break your posture, you let them feed the lapel, you let them get the grip, it's essentially being caught in a triangle choke or being mounted. Can we escape those positions? Sure, but if a high-level black belt gets you in the mount, it's hard to get out of the mount. A high-level black belt gets you in a triangle choke, it's hard to get out of the triangle choke. While we're not that deep, we're close enough that this is like a 90-10 position. And the better I am at it, the more like it's a 95-5 position. So let's talk about kind of the most common way he may be able to find a path out of it, and obviously that means we need to have a counter and answer to that defense. So let's first talk about what the best kind of method to defend this is in a reasonable manner. You could just hope he has a weak grip and you break it, or you could hope you're just so strong you can pull away. But that's going to not be reliable, especially to a higher level or to a higher size. Again, if you roll with any of my students like Jack Paul, who I mentioned is really good at it, I will give you money if you could break his grip from this position. I haven't been able to. None of my black belts have been able to. Even when he was a blue belt, I couldn't break his grip from this position. Okay? But that doesn't mean we don't defend the position. So let's say I get Ed's gi out. I have the lapel here. We're in the guard. Okay? So generally speaking, if the guard is closed, he is not going to get out of this position. Because there's no way for him to move. Now, he's also a less overall risk. If he basically keeps this hand on my hand and the guard stays closed, I'm very limited in my attacks. So almost always, that's where we're going to open. That's where we're starting to go for our space. We're starting to sit up. We're doing all the attacks we've been talking about. So what he's hoping is that I get complacent with this grip because I'm like, oh, he's going to break it. Nothing he's going to do. And he circles his head under my grip here and gets free. Now, this grip is not very strong, correct? It's not no longer controlling his head. Now Ed can break the grip. He can pummel inside. Now the nice thing is, if that happens most of the time, let's pull him right back to my closed guard. We can reset and I'll re-pummel, go all the way back through. very, very low risk for me. But I want to show you an attack you can do if he does this. Especially sometimes when a guy does it, he almost breathes that air relief. Ooh, I'm out of that position. Let's take a break for a second. That's when we attack. Okay? So, we're here. We have this grip. Ed pulls his head under it. So what do? We pull the grip here. Come around the head. Okay? I'm going to feed here and put pressure. What we call a ring choke. I'm pulling the gi around his head. And you notice by just holding it, choking. The pressure and control I give of his head and chin will almost always create a movement where I can roll him and come right into the mount if I don't choke him. If he stays on top of me, he gets choked. If he rolls to alleviate pressure, I get the sweep. So literally look at it. As he pulls it here, he circles under, he goes low, I pull it in. I go 2-on-1 to pull him close to me so he can't back away, and I attach to his head. So right here, he may not even realize I'm choking him. He might just think I'm holding him in close guard. And again, if I want to pull him back to close guard, I do. I reset the whole position. Instead, I'm going to feed this up and in. I grab my thumb here, and I rotate my elbow here. What I like to do in this position is hook the shoulder and put pressure. I already have the choke set. Okay, I'm going to release the tension a little bit on that so I don't go to sleep. And then as I'm here, almost always, he's going to have to start turning his body this way. As he does, use this to roll him right to the mount. Now I'm on top looking for chokes on attack. I do not want to do this. I do not want to have to do this. Again, this choke is not going to give you the same level of control that the Brabo does. That's why this is not something I'm going to set up. But if he gets quick with that reaction, a training partner who's more experienced here, who knows you like to do this, and generally it's going to come from me making a mistake. I'm kind of loose with my elbow position. I let him push it out. It's going to happen to all of us, especially, you're tired, you make a mistake, no one's going to be perfect with the position. This choke is really sneaky. I can tell you a personal experience. One of my training partners, an older black belt who I roll with and do privates with, who is very good with lapels. He plays a lot of lapels, squeeze guard, warm guard, all that good stuff. Years ago, maybe 7-8 years ago, we were playing, and he did this, and I was like, I can't choke me from there. I literally just woke up looking at the lights because I went out, because I was like, that's not a real choke. He's not going to choke me. And again, it put me to sleep in about 4 seconds because I thought I was going to be able just to push my arm out. It's not as tight as the Brabo choke, but this choke, because it is literally like a noose wrapped around your neck, it will be very, very tight very quickly. So this is a great little kind of sneaky choke to put in if they're doing everything right, or what I've done has kind of gone wrong, okay? So let's look at it one more time from a different angle. Let's do it from this side. So again, this is not gonna happen if we're in the closed guard, okay? Because again, if we're down here and tries to get his head under mine, this just ain't gonna happen. There's no space, there's no way he's getting under my elbow. But again, it might be in a position like this. Oh man, I made a mistake. So right away, I go 2-on-1 to pull the gi down and to hold his shoulder. This gives me a second to think about what I want to do. And again, it might just be close your guard back up. If you don't feel you have a good angle, you don't have good control, just go here, close the guard back up, and then again, you can feed right back to what we've been doing all class. But if you feel you have good control, you have a good angle, simply feed the gi around the head. And now what I'm going to do, and notice my elbow is up, my elbow is down. I'm straightening my arm and I'm putting pressure here. He's going to fall, and I'm going to attack him, okay? Simply, when I rip this gi around his head, that's an incredibly tight choke, okay? It's not the most traditional of chokes. Usually we're pulling the both gis on one side or wrapping, but this will hit both carotids and twist his head. Again, he has almost nowhere to go other than continue to roll with it, and whether I stop in the mount or the rear mount, I can finish if he rolls. If he doesn't roll, he's going to get choked, okay? So this is what we call a ring choke. You're wrapping the gi around him like a ring, okay? It's gonna happen when he pops his head up, and I'll give key little detail. So when he first pops his head, grab with both hands, pull. So you're gonna pull all the slack out of the gi. It gives you 1, more space to feed the choke, but 2, it holds him in place. So when you first do it, it feels like you're just trying to hold him, not really setting up a choke. So he may not realize the choke's coming until it's on. And if he does, you're still pulling in the slack, giving yourself an extra second or 2 to be able to set it up. Or if I just hold it and I don't pull that slack against a strong big person, they might be able to burst away quicker. So really make sure you grab that second hand pull. That'll give you the best chance to transition and give you the most lapel for the choke. Okay, let's give it a try. 3, 2, 1. Just like the Brabo though, it's gonna come off a similar idea, but again, sometimes you can't get the angles you want, you can't get the connection you want. So this is like the Brabo, when I can do from top or bottom. I use the same attack from the mount. I use the same attack from the top half guard. I just use the same attack from the bottom half guard. I learned this choke when I was a white belt from Renzo Gracie. Renzo made this choke famous. A lot of other guys use it now. Very, very popular choke in competitive jiu-jitsu. Some people call it the Super Ezekiel. I call it the plastic bag choke because that's what Renzo taught it. So I call it when I learned it. The nomenclature is not important. Again, we'll show you the technique. The idea is we're going to use my opponent's lapel to basically do an Ezekiel choke. So usually when I'm doing an Ezekiel choke, I put my fingers in my own lapel and choking through it. It's a really strong choke. You can do it from the mount, you can do it from the back, you can do it from the guard. The problem with Ezekiel is for a lot of people, whether you're mounted, whether you're on the back, whether you're in the guard, is if you're doing it from the bottom position, I'm extending it. If he's strong, you can kind of push through it. Two, you're generally using either, if you're doing them properly, you're only using your middle 3 fingers, and sometimes if you put your 4th finger, even in that case, it can put incredible pressure on your own hand. I've had 2 students over the years go for Ezekiel's in tournaments and break their own hand because they hit him so hard that they put pressure. So that's why we teach 3 fingers, but even 3 fingers, if it's in deep and it puts a lot of torque on the side of your hand, it can be a painful technique that your opponent can sometimes fight through. The super Ezekiel, or the plastic bag choke, is going to take all that slack out because we're not going to be grabbing inside our gi. We're going to be holding our arm in place with the gi. And now we're going to have full extension of both arms like I'm doing a cross collar choke or a Brabo choke without any pressure on my hand or wrist. Okay? So this is a really, really good choke to kind of blend with the Brabo and blend the grip. I generally love this choke even more from the mount. We're going to show it from the guard in the same context, but then I'll show you quickly how to do it from the mount. It'll be pretty obvious as well, but it's a really, really strong one. So I have Ed here. And again, we're pulling lapels out. So what was the key to getting the Brabo choke? Breaking his posture, right? I had to break his posture so I could feed the gi behind him to feed across his neck. Sometimes I'm rolling with a guy like Ed, tough black belt, good posture, hard to break down. I just can't do it. He just keeps winning that battle. Every time I get him, before I can get the lapel, he gets back up. So I could still use the lapel to tie him up and make his life miserable. So I pull the gi out, and again, I was trying to get this, man, I can't break this guy down. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start grabbing cross collars, he keeps pushing me back down, so I'm just gonna kind of open the guard and fight here, right? So from this spot, I might be going for cross collars, looking for scissor sweeps, however you like to play. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the lapel here, okay? And I'm gonna start bringing it up towards his head. So I'm gonna grab it, I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna feed the gi here. So right now, no grip. There's not even a chance of a choke. It doesn't even look like I could do anything to him. It looks like some kind of half-assed version of the Brabo that we were just doing. So all we're gonna do is hold here and slide this hand in. Now look at where my hand is. I've created basically a sling. So if Ed pushes me away or pulls away, the choke is locked. He can try to stand up, he can try to move, he can try to fight, and the choke is locked. Let's put pressure and hold it in. It's an incredibly tight choke because of that. Again, as opposed to holding my own gi and start putting pressure on my fingers, I'm literally just wrapping my own forearm in the gi and shooting this as deep as I can, and then extending my arms. Okay? So it's a really good way to use the same kind of lapel ideas, but if I can't always get around him, can't get behind him, maybe I had it around him, he pulled it back out. Because again, in a live match, guys are going to be tough, and I can always let you get where you want, but you can still use the lapel. Like I said, this is kind of a gateway to how you can use the lapel a variety of ways. While we're using a very simple kind of basic setup pattern, this is how you can start seeing how many different varieties of gi work you can do. The way I just showed you is one way to do it. I'll show you a second way to do the same kind of thing. So again, let's say we're in the same kind of situation. I'm pulling the gi out, trying to get behind it, but I can't. So I just hold the gi like this, okay? So again, I open the guard. And then here, I like to do things like this. I try to wrap his hand. He doesn't like me wrap his hand, so I'll go like this. And I'll go here, and now I'm in. Choke is set. And then all I do to finish is again, notice I'm not touching my hand, I'm not grabbing, and I'm just gonna extend my arms. So both the arms are gonna go like this. From here, I just put pressure and extend. Again, just like on the Brabo chokes, I'm gonna let it go so as we're talking, Ed doesn't go to sleep. He may try to roll or push my arms. If he does, just tilt him, move him, just keep position, get angles. And the more I hold it in here, the tighter the choke's going to be. Okay? Now, like I said, we can also do this from the mount. If we do it from the mount where I use it a lot, turn your head this way. This is one of my favorite attacks from the mount in Jiu-Jitsu in general. So, if I'm in the mount position, similar idea. One of the hardest things to do is get the cross collar. Everyone's fighting their hands in, everyone's being tough. So if he's doing that, he's keeping his hands out, he's pulled the lapel out. And a lot of times they'll hold like this. If you do this almost all the time, they're gonna try to grab it, they don't like it. If he does, I start bringing it here, and he goes, okay, that's not bad. I come inside, I go right to the choke. Or even my favorite is if he's keeping his elbows in, his hands in. I go like this, and I trap his hand. People hate this. If he doesn't do anything, I can start setting up stuff like mounted triangles. So almost always he pulls his hand out because he doesn't like it. I just replace his hand with my hand, and I finish that same choke. So this is where lapels become super, super strong and super controlling with just simple, innocuous things. When I just take this lapel and bring it to his shoulder, it does not feel threatening in any way. No cross collar choke, nothing that's like a direct threat, nothing that's like, I gotta stop this. But just by having it here, and I create a hole to slide my hand in, I now have an incredibly reinforced, basically forearm punch through his throat. I'm just extending my arms. The deeper my wrists get, the faster the choke it is. Okay? So let's just show it real quick one more time from the guard. But again, you can use it from the mount, top half guard. I basically sit up, I bring the hand here, I feed it behind, and then I simply slide my arm in. I try to touch my fingers to the forearm, and then all I'm going to do is extend this arm through. So notice I'm not gripping, I'm just touching. And I fall. As I fall, I put pressure in to finish the choke. Okay? That's what we call the plastic bag choke. The reason we call it that is it feels like your head's in a plastic bag. Everywhere you move, it just kind of gets tighter and it's harder to breathe. The more he struggles, the faster the choke's gonna work. Okay? So let's get with a partner, give it a try. Plastic bag choke in 3, 2, 1. Yep.
You're just chilling.
Yep. Just extend it here.
It's a knife blade.
Yep.
Even here, this
What I like to do is, like, if I do this in a live situation, so let's say, you know, we're sitting up, I'm doing this, I get here, I start to get here, and then I start to fight. You know, maybe you're fighting my elbow, so then I'll start to fall and almost let you pass. So now, so like stay up underneath, you're gonna pass, right? The more you pass the guard, the worse it comes because you're more turning it into a blood choke. Or if you stay back, I extend, but if you come into me, the choke becomes even tighter. So I go almost like, oh, okay, once I get that grip, oh man, you're gonna pass my guard. Oh no, don't like that angle.
I've seen that before where they'll give up the pass on a baseball bat.
Yeah, baseball bat choke, same. But this is safer in that you don't have to worry about like him spinning around you on this.
Yeah.
Because with this, even if I pass the guard, I can push you away and get my knees back in. Where like baseball bat, like I have a couple students who are really good at them. But like if I pop my head out, then I'm like in north-south on them, and then I can armbar them. This, if I just keep it here, even if you pass, I can always frame you away. Because like if you get here, boom, and you even get around it. Like, oh man, you can't get me here. I can always create space and still get my guard back because you have no way to get your head and chest free again. Just simply like the Brabo. These positions where you control posture so much, it just keeps you in space for it. You drive your hips in and the head comes up and I choke. If you lower your head, take pressure, you have to take pressure off, which always gives you
have a constant frame.
Always.
It's just like no matter what.
And that's why everything we're doing is basically comes from real basic ideas of basically cross-collar positions. Because what makes the cross-collar so strong is those incredible frames you have, but either by extending frames or connection frames. Once these are in between me and you, it's so hard for you to ever get through those positions because I'm controlling that distance. And again, at a base level, guard play is just distance management. And that's why I always say that anything when I do cross collar from the beginning is all about keeping you at this distance to start. Because at this distance, I have all the control, I have all the attacks, and you have to break this distance by either breaking, getting away, or extending. And generally, if you're extending, you're opening up other those sweeps, movements. If you stay at this distance, you're just sitting duck to all the different chokes and angles that I attack at. Because, you know, you're right in that middle range of where everything I do is right at my core, right at my body.
Strong area. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where, as a passer, we want to be out of that area if he has grips. If we're in that area, we either want to be all the way in, or we want to be all the way out. Middle area, bad news for us. Always bad news for us. You can do all these attacks, and as you can see, we do arm bars off here and other things. But you can start getting into really cool, kind of higher level D stuff and kind of weird angles if you like to pursue it. Because again, you may just say, hey, I like the idea that I have a lapel, I feed it behind his head, go for a choke, and the Brabo as an extra tool to play my closed guard, and that's all you use it for, you're gonna have success. You might want to say, man, I want to find this lapel grip or use lapels like this every round and find cool stuff. You can start going into the endless rabbit hole of different ways to attack the lapel. Just to show you a few kind of things you can use off that same one lapel grip, depending on how a partner reacts. So, what I like to use a lot, I have very flexible hips. So I have a very flexible open guard when I play, especially in the gi. So one of the things you'll see is when I get lapels here, and I'm going with someone tough like Edward, and I start getting to this position, and I'm going with someone who's really doing a good job, I like to do what we call gubber guard. So most of you have probably heard of rubber guard. It's rubber guard with the gi. So once in this position, I circle up, I pull the lapel out, and now I feed the lapel over my own leg. From this spot, this side of Ed's body now belongs to me. He's not going to get it back. And as I put pressure on him, I can do things like open up. So he's probably going to start pushing my leg down and try to step up. And now I'm starting to tie him up into triangles and different attacks, all off lapels and remote practice. If, for instance, I'm going through this lapel game and he stands up, oh, he doesn't want to be pulled down here. He starts to stand up. I start feeding into what we call squid guard. Squid guard is an incredibly powerful guard because even if he stands up and he opens, now this leg is to me, we're attached. I can posture up as hard as he wants. He can try to run away. He's now stuck here. And now I can start entering things like the matrix, starting up leg attacks, all these different attacks. And again, it was all off that same, basically just pulling the lapel out, We do a little drives forward, I can feed it over my leg. He stands up, I can feed it under his leg. I can feed it behind his back. I can tie up his arms. It's almost endless and only limited by your creativity or your physical gifts or tools. If you're not flexible, rubber guard's probably not the option. But the squid guard, anyone can play that. He stands up, I just hook it around my leg and basically attach it. We can't pass, I can invert. Again, if he's keeping his arms real strong in front, you can do things like wrap it and pull his arm and use it as a way just to pull his arm across the center line. So you have an incredible amount of options once you start doing lapels. 2, when you start attacking opponents' lapels, if they're unaware, it's almost like you have a superpower. They don't know what's going on. They don't really know what to do. It starts getting in their head. You get simple attacks. And then as they get a little aware and go, I don't like when Ed ties me up with the lapel, they start making mistakes. They start focusing on the lapel, and you just go back to cross collar chokes and basic 2-on-1s and basic attacks. Because when you start feeding lapels out, and they don't like it, you start seeing it to the side of them, they start bringing their focus over here at the lapel and forget things like, oh, he can just arm drag me, or he can scoot and take my back, or he can snap me down or collar drag me. Because again, these are not tools that go against those basic tools. They're just things that add on. You're doing a lot of your most basic attacks with the grip, or as you're trying to get the grip. If he defends, you can go back to those really basic attacks. Basic scissor sweeps, basic hip pumps, basic arm drags, basic cross collar chokes. So this is just a tool to break their defenses down and try to give him more things to think about. The more ideas and the more things I can put into him that make him think about, the harder it is for him to defend. If you think about it like in a boxing or kickboxing realm, if I just throw really hard 1-2 punches, I can hurt guys. If I start putting feints and fakes and switching angles and moving my head, and he doesn't know where a punch is coming from or a kick is coming from, even if I'm throwing the same 2 punches or kicks, it's a lot harder to read. This is almost what you're doing. You can use the lapels as a feint or a feint, and if they don't respond to it, really use it as an attack. But if he does respond to it and starts getting him to open up, you never even have to use the lapel as a tool. So things like when I showed you could do that the plastic bag choke from the mountain. A lot of times, again, when I just start to pull my lapel out to feed over it, our partners start freaking out. I just go back to a regular collar choke, right? Spin to an arm bar, because they get so focused on what I'm doing down here that they lose sight of, okay, I gotta keep my arms here. So this is where you're gonna build your lapels from and around. So again, whether you're using 1 option, 2, 3 options from there, if you have the ability to make your partner think and to attack them with the lapels, you're just adding an extra layer. And again, if we're wearing a gi, use the gi. I love to do no gi. Obviously, none of this will work in no gi, but that's not what we're doing. You hear some guys be like, well, in the gi, I don't want to do stuff that only works in no gi. Well, then just do no gi. You know, no gi's great. I love no gi. We do a 50-50 split at my gym because I wouldn't want to do them both. But again, when the gi's on, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use it. Again, it's there, his gi, my gi. I'm going to use all the tools I have. And again, just because I like to do lapels, when I take the gi off, my guard works just as well. I just don't use lapels. Okay? So don't get, cause sometimes that old school vibe, man, this won't work here. Again, we were talking, if you got a jean jacket on, if you got a hoodie on, I might not have the exact lapels, but I can use these same kind of grips to do a lot of these same attacks, like for a self-defense situation. Again, I'm not going to probably be going to things like the plastic bag choke or the ring choke, but just having a good ability to cross collar, sweep, Brabo choke. These work all the time in almost any situation where their opponent is wearing material. Okay? So now, last part of the seminar, I'm just going to open it up to Q&A about what we did today. Anything you guys want to see? No self-defense, leg locks, passing, anything you guys want. Any questions you guys have?
So you talked about squid guard. Can you just show me the different grip patterns from worm to squid?
Sure.
Just real quick.
So, Ed is standing above me. So let's say he stands in my guard. And I have the lapel we had here over my leg, just under his leg. This is what we call squid guard. This is pretty much the most basic of the standing lapel guards. Because essentially, the lapel grip we had all day, I just wrapped it over my leg and sit it under his leg. Okay. If nothing more than this, it's going to be almost impossible for Ed to get a clean guard pass on me until he breaks this grip. Because my leg is basically attached to his head. And I can control his posture and his distance. It's very hard. And just by holding him here, even if I use it just to create space and distance, and then he can sit up and get away. Let alone I can do a lot of inversions and cool jiu-jitsu. If you want to go into something from there, like a worm guard, if he stands up, I'm going to play a worm guard. Worm guard would be where I feed the leg around me and feed it across the body like this. And I can have the leg across the hip. I can have the leg under the hip. And again, there's a lot of varieties. There's dirt worm, reverse Delaware worm, Polish worm, right, or British worm, all these different attacks. And again, some of them I don't even know. So don't ask me about the really deep ones because it's too complicated for me. But when you start feeding the lapels like under the legs here, it is so hard for my partner to move. And I can start off balancing him, creating shin locks, taking his back. And this is where the power of the lapel is. And if you want to dive down those rabbit holes, there's an incredible amount of stuff out there. Specifically, Keenan Cornelius, he has the lapel encyclopedia. Meow Brothers have a lot of great lapel stuff. They're really, really complicated. But again, I don't go too deep in the rabbit hole. I just don't have time. I have too much other stuff I need to learn. But it's almost endless with the cool stuff you can do.
Sometimes we get higher belts, we're like, I already know that. I'm telling you, the minute you start coaching and you have a gym, you lose all the ability to train as much as you want, okay? I try to get out to Coach Jeff's as much as I can, but it's not nearly as much as I would like. And luckily for me, I have a lot of higher belts at the gym that I could train with, but just to learn some specific details is the difference of pulling it off and not pulling it off.
And one thing, just to build on that, that's a great point. It's like one of the things I always have people train with my guys. And one of the biggest compliments I get is I get people coming from all over and say, you guys are very technical. And that's something I really pride as a coach. And one of the reasons why I always tell my guys is, like Scott said, my black belts come to regular classes. I taught a Saturday morning class before I came here today. We had 18 people in class. 9 of them were black belts. One of my black belts, Brandon, second degree black belt. He's been training with me for 18 years. He still just comes to a regular class, shows up. And again, if you're a blue belt and you get to partner with an 18-year black belt, man, that's gonna help your students, your teammates, your training partners get good. And again, even myself, sometimes I'll have one of my students coach this because I'm like, hey, Ramses or Scott or Brandon, teach a class because you guys are good at this and I want to see the details you guys can show. And when I get to sit back and be a student, I learn stuff from my students, my blue belts, my purple belts, my black belts, and then when I get to partner with a purple belt and show him and make sure he gets good reps, rising tides lift all ships. Never too good to go to class or never too good to learn jiu-jitsu, man. I learn new things every day and I've been doing this for 26 years and I'm going to continue to learn new stuff from everybody. So, Ed, take it away.
First, thank you. As we all expect, incredible techniques, things that we'll continue to work on. Thanks for giving me a lesson plan for this week.
No problem. It's always fun.
And Scott, also thank you for coming, everybody. If you don't know, Scott Gave, my other coach, super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.